Hi everybody. I'm playing a guitar that's kind of special to me. It's a LoPrinzi dreadnought from the early 1970s. I bought it new back then. I'm not sure exactly what year I bought it because that was a long time ago. But I got it because I was interested because I had read about it in Guitar Player magazine. I'd read about Mr. LoPrinzi, August LoPrinzi, and he was one of the very first people who did independent luthiery. You know, back in those days, back in the late 60s, early 70s, if you wanted a really nice guitar, acoustic guitar, your choices were to get a Martin or a Gibson or a Guild. They were making guitars during that time, but there was not this, large community of independent guitar luthiers like there are today. And so August LoPrinzi was kind of in the forefront of that. And I read about him in Guitar Player magazine, and Larry Coryell was his big endorser back then. And I was interested in getting a guitar like this, but I grew up in a little bitty farming town in southern Illinois, and there wasn't a really good way to, go look at this guitar, or the idea of like ordering a guitar to be made for you, unlike today. Like back then, that was kind of like, what? I wouldn't have even thought of that. So I kind of wanted to find a place where I could look at some of these guitars, and it turned out I had to send a letter to Mr. LoPrinzi because, of course, I couldn't Google it up. And so he sent me a letter back, and it turns out that there was a dealer who was selling a few LoPrinzi guitars about 100 miles away from where I lived in Springfield, Illinois. So I went up there and played all of the LoPrinzis that he had, and I chose this one. And I've had it ever since then. I've gone through many, many other guitars since those days. And so on this guitar, every horrible scratch, dent, every bit of damage and sweat and who knows what all has, raked across the finish here. Every bit of that I did myself. So I'm proud of that and embarrassed at the same time. So let's take a look at it a little bit. The top is made of European spruce. And then you can see that it's styled after a D28. It's basically the proportions and the measurements of a D28. And it does have an ebony fretboard. And then we were talking about it, and we noticed that the bridge is rosewood. And so that's kind of unusual. A lot of guitars, they make the ebony bridge and fingerboard to match each other, but here it's a technique that is used in classical guitar building. We have found through great research that sometimes they use the rosewood in the bridge to be a lighter bridge. So perhaps that came from Mr. LoPrinzi's experience in building classical guitars, which he did back then. And then let's take a look at the back and the sides of the guitar. And this is Brazilian rosewood, very straight grained compared to, a lot of that type of wood we see nowadays. And you can actually see a lot more of the grain in the sides, but it's slightly more figured and orangish, the way that Brazilian rosewood can get. And mahogany neck. So yes, that is, I think, Honduran mahogany on the neck. And so it's a guitar that, as I say, I've had it since I bought it new in the 70s, and just in the last few years had its first and only neck reset, because it had, like many dreadnoughts and like many guitars in general, as they age, the neck will begin to pull up a little bit, and you pretty much need to, at least once during a guitar's life, have the neck set back in its original position, because what happened with this guitar, the neck started to pull up a little bit, and so the action got higher. And then once the action got higher, it wasn't playing in tune quite as well as it had. And so that caused me to, put it in the closet for a while and play other guitars, but I think it got kind of lonesome in there and kind of called out to me, probably in my dreams or at some point when I was unconscious, kind of trying to coax me into coming to the closet and getting it out of there and playing it some more. And so finally I did, and I had a friend of mine in Seattle, a fellow named David Haxton, who also makes very nice guitars himself, reset the neck for me. And so ever since then I've been playing it a lot, and it's kind of got back into my guitar rotation, and I'm so glad that it did, and I'm so glad that I still have it. And so it's a very nice guitar, sort of as I say, a reproduction, not a reproduction, but inspired by, let's say, the Martin D28, rosewood, spruce, mahogany neck, and made by August LoPrinzi in the early 1970s. Thank you, Mr. LoPrinzi.